guys? It is Dan the Man, aka Daniel's son, and welcome to Dead Walking Sunday. I am joined by always Walking Dead Mike. Say hi, Walking Dead Mike.
What's up, everybody?
We are talking tonight's mid-season finale, start to finish of The Walking Dead. Now, you know how it goes, Mike, non-spoiler, and then we'll get into spoiler territory. How's that sound?
Sounds good, brother.
Okay, overall thoughts, Mike, about tonight's episode without spoiling anything. What did you feel? Did you like this episode? Did you not like about it?
For a mid-season finale, even if it was a regular episode, I'm very disappointed with this. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm just really overall disappointed in this episode.
Yeah, Mike. I mean, yeah, man. It's just I was kind of bored with it, honestly. Because I told you, I had some family over, so we're watching this, right? And it didn't keep my interest at all. I was like, and honestly, I was just waiting for those moments that it'd be, intense. I was waiting for those intense moments, and it never happened. This whole episode, it just never had those intense moments that I expected. Did you feel the same way, Mike?
Yeah, I felt this very similar. I mean, there wasn't nothing going on. I mean, besides a little bit towards the end, but other than that, I mean, I felt like I was watching more commercials than the actual episode. I went into this episode having such high hopes, especially that it's a mid-season finale and all. And I got to tell you, man, I'm just really disappointed. Even in the last couple episodes, they haven't been too good. I feel like this episode, a lot more should have happened, especially now that we have to wait till I think sometime mid-February for the next episode. I'm just really, really mad.
Yeah, it really wasn't worth, getting excited over for, honestly. I think what really got to me was, I know a lot of people argue the fact that this show, it doesn't have to have action or anything like that, but you have to engage me with dialogue. And I felt like the dialogue and the conversations in this episode just didn't really get me hooked. And honestly, that's where I think they did need the action. I think we did need some, oomph into this episode. You have so many zombies come into this place. And it's definitely not what I expected. And realistically, it's definitely not what I expected. What do you think, Mike? You think we needed some more action? Or did you think overall the dialogue was meh too? Because I felt like the dialogue wasn't that great, or the interactions or whatever they were talking about wasn't that fascinating either.
I mean, yeah, what they were talking about, like some of the dialogue between Deanna and Morgan and Carol, I mean, it wasn't anything special. I definitely feel like there should have been a lot more action, especially it being the mid-season finale. I'm going to say it again, but what really happened besides Michonne swinging her katana a couple times and maybe a couple gunshots go off? I mean, and then the little drama session between Carl and Ron. I mean, that's really all that happened. Probably the most exciting thing that had me on my out of my seat was the conflict between Morgan and the Wolf and Carol. Other than that, I really overall just I don't know. I wasn't feeling this episode.
I feel you, Mike. I felt like the tone and the pacing just did not meet the expectations either, especially the tone of this episode. This episode, without spoiling it, it's like we're saying right now, it's not full of action. It's not intense. There's periods in this episode where it's slow. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to be slow with this type of mid-season finale and with this type of conflict that's happening and surrounding all the walkers surrounding them. Now, remember last episode, if you guys are joining us, the walkers got in. They breached in. All these walkers are coming in. Rick and everybody's running for their lives. But you would think from there on, it would just be every single minute full of just intense moments, intensity to survive. And there is little moments here and there, but very little moments, very, very little moments. Most of the episode was slow, and I just did not think I was going to get a slow episode, and that's exactly what we got.
You're absolutely right. We got a slow episode. I did not expect it to be this slow. I mean, maybe in the beginning, the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe it'd be slow and then start kicking up into some action. But we just they didn't give it to us. I feel they're gonna lose a lot of viewers if they keep this up, and it's really disappointing to say, but they're lucky they're bringing in Negan soon because maybe that'll spice things up. But overall, I think they're gonna start losing some viewers after this. A lot of people are gonna be disappointed, and I already see people in the comment sections on like social media saying that they were disappointed in this episode.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, this is how it is, Mike. I mean, this is why I don't put The Walking Dead as one of my favorite or like in the top, the top two. I think we discussed like Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy. But The Walking Dead, what it does, and it's been doing, which I'm super disappointed is they'll start off very strong in those first 3 episodes, whatever you want to say about it, and then it just drops. It makes you lose interest because they're trying to tell different kind of stories, or they're really trying to stretch out the season. And you get these moments where it's just so slow. And the problem that these slow moments or these episodes is that the dialogue's not interesting, the interactions are not interesting, and the conflict and overall the weight to it is not there. So what The Walking Dead has been doing is just I just feel like it's been doing this year after year after year where we're going towards heading to this midseason, but the momentum is just not carrying over to when we come back for The Walking Dead. How do you feel, Mike?
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Definitely the past 2 years they've been doing great with the first 3 episodes, and then it's just been slowing down, going down since then. And definitely season 5 and season 6 was that way, and maybe even season 4. Like the first 2-3 episodes were fantastic, and then after that it just declines rapidly. And I hope things change. Episode 9 for season 6, I feel like is going to be a big one, but I feel like we should have got more of that action in this episode.
Yeah, man, and it's very disappointing knowing that how we started off this season. This season really started off like, okay, yes, it's gonna be this is gonna be the season. We have Morgan back. We have all these elements that can make this season just one of the best seasons ever. And I thought it was gonna be hands down one of the best seasons ever. But I can't say that right now because we've gone these episodes where they just have been lackluster and they really haven't really. I know they're trying to show the human element into it, but honestly, I don't think any of the viewers really care. I don't think at this point we have characters like Morgan, who I loved. We're starting to question his decisions. We have Rick, who we're supposed to root for. We're starting to question his decisions, but I think Rick was pretty good in this episode. And I think Michonne was pretty good in this episode. But some characters we started questioning, and some characters were just like saying, this dude needs to die, like now. How do you feel, Mike, about
I think Rick and Michonne were fantastic in this episode. Even Deanna in some aspects. But I'm glad you mentioned Morgan. I was, like we spoke about this before in the previous podcast, I was so excited that Morgan was back into the cast, back in the flow. I was really looking forward to that last year, like the whole 6-7 month break from season 5 to season 6. I was like totally like so looking forward to Morgan and what they were going to do with him. But like I said before, I mean, I'm really starting to despise Morgan, especially in this episode. I don't know. I hope that they're gonna change his character or do something different with him because
so Morgan really, like, this episode really just like really sunk into you that Morgan, what is he doing? Like really just like no, Morgan, just you're gonna have to die pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt, man. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I don't, with Morgan, I still think it's interesting because I never would have thought this character would turn out to be where he is right now with everybody. I really honestly thought there would be more of a conflict between Morgan and Rick and just the struggle of the community. But the way they presented Morgan and the way we saw his flashback, and in this episode, like, I don't hate Morgan, but I definitely am very disappointed in Morgan, and it's really hard because I really do like Morgan. But Morgan, they're really just kind of dropping the ball on what he could do for this season, and I don't like the way they're handling him for this season at all.
Yeah, they handle him terribly, man. I love Morgan as a character as well, and I'm rooting for him, but they're just destroying his character. They're just destroying him.
Yeah. I mean, granted, in the comics, we always got to go back to the comics. I mean, it's a whole different kind of Morgan, honestly, especially up to this point. But yeah, I just expected more from Morgan and his character, and it's just really getting irritating and really, like you said, Mike, it's getting frustrating, especially with what he's doing right now. It's starting to, yeah, I'm starting to grow to like, come on, man. I mean, I'm not really. I guess I'm starting to really dislike Morgan too, Mike.
Yeah, I feel like they're just dragging a lot of things on. They're just dragging too many things on, like the Glenn thing they dragged on, and Morgan believing that all life is precious is another drag on, and some aspects with Deanna's character. I mean, they're just dragging a lot of things this season, and it's starting to become a little played out.
Okay. So to rank this mid-season finale, where would you rank this, Mike? I mean, is this the worst one that you've seen so far for The Walking Dead, or is this better from previous seasons that you've seen?
Man, I mean, season one didn't have a mid-season finale. I don't think did they have a break in season two? I'm not sure.
I think they did. I want to say they did. That was a lot of episodes for season two.
Yeah, it was. I
That
think
was
it was 13. I would have to say, yeah, it's definitely one of the worst mid-season finales to date, and I would probably rank it 1 to 10, 10 being best, maybe a 5.5.
5. That's a good little score there. Thinking of this, I mean, because honestly, when I was watching this, I was just so kind of like I was disinterested in this episode like throughout. Like I didn't want. Honestly, it was kind of feeling like a chore. It was kind of feeling like, this is getting ridiculous. There's nothing here that excites me. There's nothing really here. I guess I don't want to say that actually. There is a few instances in this episode that we will cover in spoilers that where I felt like, okay, this is the moment where it's finally going to happen, but they really brush it aside. And then I don't even know if they're really going to go through with it. A lot of the things that we've seen in the comics moving forward to when we come back for The Walking Dead, because you would think that they would leave you hanging at the end of this episode, but honestly, they don't.
No, I feel like they should have incorporated a lot of stuff that happened in the comics in this episode, but I feel like it might happen next episode, episode 9. But we're gonna have to wait 2 months, 2 months for that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. I think we need to go to spoilers because it is, this is how hard it is to talk about this episode and not spoiling it because there's nothing to this episode. I think you already feel the same way, Mike. I think we've been saying it, that there's just nothing here. There's nothing to get excited about. There's nothing to really talk about because they don't do it. They don't pull the trigger. They don't pull the trigger on some of the elements that they've been setting up. And that's what's so dissatisfying with this mid-season finale is that a lot of things are setting up. It never happens. It never happens in this episode. But 1 to 10, do you give it a 5, Mike?
Yeah, I would have to give it a 5. I was gonna say 6 at first, but yeah, I'd give this episode a solid 5, and that's terrible. For I don't think I've ever given any episode a 5, especially a mid-season finale. Definitely not.
Mike, when I think about this episode, and I've been saying throughout this podcast, is like I've been like disengaged. I wasn't really into it. Like when I think about it, like there really wasn't that much here that I really liked. There was some things, but honestly, everything was just a bore to me. Everything just felt just unnecessary. I felt like the writers definitely had something that they could really push forward to for the midseason or to bring when we come back for The Walking Dead, but they don't do it. So I'm gonna give this a 4.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna give this a 4. That's how really bad it was tonight because there wasn't really anything here. I don't even like. Whoa. When we jump into the spoilers, there is some things we could talk about, but there's a lot of things where like, we've seen this all before, and it's done better.
Yeah, well, when we jump into spoilers, we're probably only going to spoil maybe 1 or 2 things to the episode because nothing really happened. This episode should have been full with action, like you on the edge of your seat, just like pulling the hair out of your head, but it wasn't. It was total opposite of that, and it's really really disappointing.
Yeah. Okay, guys, if you guys have just been joining us, we are finished with the non-spoiler. So we just discussed, without spoiling this episode, tonight's episode, I believe it was called Start to Finish, Mike?
Yeah, start to finish, I'm pretty sure.
Start to finish, yeah. But now we're jumping into spoiler territory. So if you do not want to continue listening, go ahead and check out my other videos. Why not? Or go check out Cat videos. One of the two. It doesn't matter. But we are jumping into spoiler territory, and honestly, there isn't very much to spoil. Mike, please tell the audience, spoiling whatever you can, what the hell happened in this episode? What was so mediocre about this episode?
All right. One spoiler would be the death of Deanna. I mean, that's really one of the major things they focus on in this episode. I feel like they made us fall in love with Deanna in this episode. They did a lot of that, made us like her character even more before they killed her off. And I'm a little sad that she's gone, but I guess it was necessary to move the story forward.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I was just like the whole time, and it was kind of funny because I was sitting there with my family who doesn't even watch The Walking Dead, but knows a little bit about it. And they're saying, why don't they kill her? I mean, she's a zombie. She's turning into a zombie. Kill her before she kills everybody else. And, you know, I knew, like, oh, she's probably going to sacrifice herself and stuff. But the way they did it at the end is like, really? Did they? I don't know. It was kind of funny to me when she was yelling at the walkers coming her way. I just felt like the whole scene wasn't executed right. And really, Diane, you know, she wasn't that bad of a character in my eyes. I mean, she did. But I didn't feel sad for her. I didn't really feel anything about that demise, honestly. I thought she ate baby Judith. I was like, holy shit, finally a moment that's gonna say holy shit. I thought baby Judith was done, but guess not.
Yeah, that definitely had me for a second, and I'm very surprised Rick almost got caught slipping there and left Judith in the room with someone who was bit and about to turn. I'm really surprised that Rick. I guess Rick just had so much going on at the moment that he didn't even realize it. Judith should be his number one priority, but
could you say he pulled a Lori?
It's almost. Almost.
Hey, where's your kid, Lori? I don't know where Carl is.
Yeah, watch Carl for me.
Yeah. Hey, Daryl, can you go get Rick?
Oh my God.
God, we could do a whole podcast with Lori.
Oh, well, that'll be a musical podcast.
Oh my God. Yeah, you know, but do you think Judith is gonna bite it when we come back from The Walking Dead?
That's a really good question. I don't know if they'd be able to pull that off. I don't know. I think she'll be around for at least this season. I can't see her in the dust.
Well, she is wrapped in like that kind of blanket full of zombie guts and stuff. So
yeah, who was holding Judith? I forgot.
Carl.
Oh, Carl. Okay, yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So also that too, Mike. I mean, I guess we go a little bit into the comics and stuff, but we all know what's going to happen. So I guess they're setting up the whole Ron and Carl thing for the next episode. Well, I don't know how they're going to do that since Carl took away Ron's gun.
Oh, man. Maybe he'll pull it off of someone's waist, or maybe his mother's waist or something, but who knows how. I really was looking forward to a lot of comic book material in this episode, and they just dropped the ball. They could have done so. This episode, the way they set it up, the first 5, 6 episodes, 7 episodes leading up to this, they set it up. And it did have so much potential, but they didn't put anything into it. I mean, we didn't even get any deaths. The only person who died was Deanna, and we didn't even get to actually see the death. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that like the only death?
Yeah, I think it was. Which is kind of surprising since there was like a whole horde of zombies that just broke in, right?
Yeah, they could have done so much more, man. Oh.
Like the whole time watching this, and this is what I shouldn't be thinking of if I'm an audience viewer. Budget. Probably the budget. Because I'm expecting when these zombies are like charging in, I'm expecting 28 days later, just slower zombies. I'm expecting Dawn of the Dead. I'm expecting some deaths. I'm expecting, a frantic, instead of just running into the house and then them chit-chatting with each other throughout this whole episode. I'm expecting already Rick grabbing everybody, having the zombie guts, going out to try to make. I'm expecting them trying to survive the zombie horde in the 30 minutes into it. But the pacing of this, it just feels like it's so stretched out. So, I think that's the only death really Diane's. And I was like, well, what is going on here? We should have some damn destruction going on. Even the wolf survives. Mike.
Yeah, I feel like this should have been his last episode in the series. I mean, now what else are they gonna do with this man? They dragged him on since the last season, and he looks like he's very close to dying. He looked like he was pale, and his wound was like pussing and gushing. But
so what else? It wasn't a bite. It was an infection.
Yep, it was an infection, and I gotta say, the conflict between Carol and Morgan, I have to take Carol's side on this, and I'm very surprised that wolf didn't kill anyone. I feel like after all this is said and done, after everything calms down, they're gonna have to do something with Morgan because he is becoming a very, very big liability. They have to do something with him. Has to be done.
That's where maybe what I've been hoping for with Rick and Morgan and the conflict, maybe that's what happens. Maybe when we'll finally get that conflict between those two. But you're right. If it wasn't for Rosita, if it wasn't for Tara, if it wasn't, well, Eugene's in the background. If it wasn't for those three, everybody would be dead. Everybody would be dead. That wolf would kill them.
Yeah.
So you're right, man. It's just like, I mean, what more? I mean, is there more wolves out there, of course, or is this wolf that important for the storyline? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with what they plan for this wolf, but you're right. This is the episode, where you start getting not irritated, but Mike, I can see why you're starting to hate Morgan because realistically, Carol is in the right. She is right about freaking, killing this wolf before he kills anybody else. Look into his eyes and you could tell that motherfucker ain't gonna change.
Yeah, I cannot see that guy changing at all, one bit. I mean, what's gonna change him now? I have no idea. I'm surprised when he had that gun, he didn't shoot Rosita and Tara and Eugene and just leave. I'm really surprised. Yeah. I'm really surprised none of those, especially in a mid-season finale, I'm gonna keep saying this, not one of those people died.
Right. I mean, not even it's Denise, right? Because I always get her and this other chick mixed up. Denise, right?
Yep.
Denise. Yeah. I was surprised Denise didn't bite the dust. I was just waiting for that wolf to shoot her and bye.
I mean, I feel like the wolf is a little smarter. I feel like he knows that he needs her to if he has any chance of surviving because she is the doctor of the group, that she would help him. But on the other hand, I feel like he really doesn't care if he dies because he's telling Morgan, you should kill me. So I don't know. I'm all over the place with him, and I'm really surprised that no one was injured in that little predicament that was going on.
Yeah. Most definitely, Carol is going to be super pissed when she wakes up. She this episode is just it is a little bit heartbreaking because we're talking about some of these moments, and if you hear us talk about it, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. These moments never amounted to anything. Yeah, you're right. That little shuffle right there, realistically, if you had that shuffle in the comics, 3 of those motherfuckers are going to die. 3 of those people are going to die. But because it's a television series and I don't know what the hell's going on, I don't even want to keep saying budget because there is no excuse for budget because there's a way to work around the budget and make this scene effective. But this scene, the only effectiveness that happened in it was the setup, was Carol and Morgan fighting and the setup of the wolf having to make a decision and just killing everybody off. But of course, Rosita, Eugene, and Tara come barging in, and yet we still didn't get anything. So you're absolutely right, Mike. Like nothing happened in that scene when something should have happened in that scene.
I feel like it was that way in almost every scene. We all we got was Maggie going up a ladder, and she's left up there. Glenn peeks his head over the. We've seen Glenn like twice in this episode. I don't even know. It wasn't even necessary to have Glenn in this episode, so that was
Yeah, what?
budget.
What? Oh, yeah, frustration, Mike. I'm sorry, frustration.
No, I totally agree with you. I'm very frustrated with this episode. I was looking forward to so much comic material, so much amazing comic material. This episode had so much potential, and they just totally dropped the ball. And they're gonna take a hit on viewership. They're gonna take a major hit.
Yeah, man. I mean, thinking about the comics, it's just like that tone of the comics, that despair, that survival like instinct, that the anger, the frustration that all builds up and just explodes. This episode does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. Freaking short films and horror, like amateurs, filmmakers could do a better job than this. That's how weak this episode was. I think for Glenn being there, there was really just him like, oh, more Maggie, you're trapped. It was really for that. But I'm sure Glenn's gonna try to find a way to lead these zombies away from them. But there was really not. Glenn was unnecessary. And come on, Mike, you know damn well that those realistically in a real life situation, Maggie's done. She would have been eaten right there. But of course, she just gets up and runs.
Yeah, of course. I feel like they just threw that scene in just to have us on the edge of our seat for what, 5 to 10 seconds that it was. I mean, yeah, she would have been gone. That ladder would have fell and she would have got torn apart. But nothing happened. Again, even that scene with Ron and Carl, that fight that happened.
Yeah, let's get into that, Mike. Let's get into that. You go for it, but you talk about this.
Nothing was resolved in that little scene, and then he didn't even tell Rick what happened. He lied about it, and I'm pretty sure Carl's gonna regret that in the next episode.
I'm pretty down too.
Probably resolve that in season 10 because they're just dragging all this stuff on. It's great.
Like, you would think Ron would die in this episode, but Ron doesn't even die in this episode. He doesn't even die in this episode. And I don't know how that kid survived, honestly. I don't know how Carl doesn't put a bullet in his head. I have no clue how Ron survives. And I have no clue how Carl doesn't get shot.
I feel like something was going to happen between those two, but again, we got nothing. It was such a dry episode. The only thing that happened was the build up to Deanna. They made us like her character, made us feel like she was a more likable character, and they just took her away from us. That's really the only thing. And then whatever she said to Michonne about find out what you want with yourself in this world, and that's really the only thing that happened.
And honestly, I think but Diane, it's like these last couple of episodes, we kind of viewed her as kind of loony. I just don't care for that character, honestly. Even though when they tried to do that in this episode, I just didn't really necessarily care. I think because I was waiting for more of overall everything else that was going on. Ron and Carl's situation should have definitely taken the lead in this episode. We definitely should have saw something in this episode that's dramatic at either the end of this episode when, or that scuffle, but that it just blows over, and we probably won't get something crazy until we come back from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and it's pretty sad to say that really nothing happened. This episode was totally dry. Again, the only thing was Deanna's death, and we could have got a lot more comic book material, like what happened with Carl's eye and what happened with Rick and the axe in the Horde with when they were all disguising themselves as walkers. I felt like we were going to get all of that, or at least some of it, in this episode. We got nothing.
You're right, man. But it looks like we're going to get it next episode, and that's come on. Really, you're going to wait till we're going to February? You're going to wait till February? You should have pulled the trigger. You should have done something now.
Yeah, they definitely didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, it was terrible. I really
Like
have nothing good to say about this episode, to be honest.
it's not it definitely it makes it. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a good move that they're going to bring in Negan, like you said, but Negan can only do so much to bring this up. You really, I mean, these are easy situations where the writers could play with. You know, these are easy situations where you can actually make an episode have a little weight to it. And this was set up perfectly for this episode to be a memorable episode. If you're going to put all your cards, or if you're going to go all in, here you go. Mid-season finale, people are expecting. And there was a mid-season finale for season 2 because it was actually a very memorable season finale. And that, I believe that was Sophia. You remember that?
Oh yeah, wow, that was one of the best scenes in the show.
That
Definitely top 10.
you talk about. I'm pretty sure The Walking Dead's budget was nowhere near as what they were in season 2. You know, I
Oh,
bet you season 2 barely had a budget.
oh no, yeah, I agree with that. And then they did really well in season 2. I mean, it was a little slow at some parts, but we're
But
just
that meant,
come so far. They should have done so much more.
yeah. Well, my point is basically, you know, it was a simple scene, honestly, but we all knew that they're all looking for Sophia. They set that up. We go to the mid-season for season 2, and we have, you know, walkers in the barn. Shane goes crazy. Everybody kills all these walkers that Herschel was stashing. That's an easy, you know, that's a good setup. That's an easy scene to do. That's, you know, with the budget that they had probably and everything that was going on. But what made that so memorable was them waiting and saying, "Oh, you guys thought we were going to get Sophia and she's going to survive." I said, "No, she's a walker coming out that barn." And not, I will always remember that particular season finale because that's where we saw Rick owning up and saying, "This was my fault." Going up to Sophia, pulling out his gun, and boom, shooting her, and that's the end. And then we have to wait to see how this all plays out. That's a season finale, and they did that. Just that one memorable scene, just beats the ass of any scene in tonight's episode, which is sad, which is very, very sad. It tells you that either the writers are getting kind of lazy or they're really trying to stretch this damn season out.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. I feel like the writers are either getting lazy and or they're just trying to stretch things out. And I really don't see. I mean, before this episode, this whole week, I was talking to a couple of my buddies that watched The Walking Dead. I was saying that I believe this is going to be one of the best episodes, hands down, throughout the whole series, and it might have been one of the worst, especially considering that it was a mid-season finale and we have to wait 2 months for. I don't know. I feel like now I don't want to keep saying this, but I feel like episode 9 is going to be a really good episode. But the way things are going, I'm not even going to predict things anymore because I'm being let down, and it's very sad to say. And season 2, now that you said that was the mid-season finale, yep, that was really good. What happened with Sophia? Because I don't think a lot of people did not expect baby Sophia coming out of that barn.
Yeah. And the way it's just the execution, man. It's the execution and the way they handle it, the editing, the music was so powerful. The music really made that scene even work even more. And you know, it was all just put together so very nicely. But excuse me, with this episode, it's just nothing, like even film wise, there was no music to really get you into the moment. There wasn't really anything like writing material wise, like, well, this episode didn't work because the writing wasn't that great and they didn't set any conflict up that really had us engaged. It's just hard to really keep talking about this episode when this episode just really just did not do it. And man, I mean, so you're saying, Mike, you really do think that a lot of viewers are just going to be really turned off by this episode and overall the past couple of weeks, and they're going to kind of, I don't want to say they're going to drop The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead will always be popular until, you know, everybody drops it, until it gets a little bit old. But you think they're definitely losing viewers after this episode?
But there's no doubt in my mind they're definitely going to lose a lot of people, and they're definitely going to hear a lot of bashing on the social media, which I told you I already seen people saying how disappointed they were. Nothing happened. This episode was very dry. There was nothing memorable in this episode. It was just blah. The whole episode was just blah. I'm season 7 or 8. I'm not going to look back at this episode and say, "Oh wow, do you remember this or do you remember that?" Because there was no memorable moments. I mean, the only kind of exciting things that happened was the conflict between Morgan and Carol and the wolf, and that scene, and the last couple seconds when they were disguising themselves as walkers and walking through the herd. Those are the only 2 memorable scenes in this episode, and a lot more could have been done. Like I said before, it's very disappointing.
So you're right about them disguising with the Walker blood. So I just want to warn everybody because this is definitely comic book spoiler territory, because I want to just get into this real quick, but it does involve the comics and what they might do next episode. So I just want to warn everybody, if you guys haven't read the comics, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do this, because we've seen, especially in this episode, and especially a lot of episodes or seasons, that they don't follow the comic book from panel to panel. But just warning you guys, Mike. So we pretty much talked about whatever we need to talk about in this episode. Just real quick, it's like being over the head. They're setting something big up, and we all know what kind of big moment that's going to be when they're all dressed in, these ponchos with Walker blood, and they're all going to go into this zombie horde, try to escape that way. We, the comic book fans, know Carl gets his eye shot. Rick loses his mind. Jesse bites the dust. And the way that her little boy is acting, it looks that they're going to try to do that scene. Of course, it's not going to be as graphic, but you'll probably see Jesse just get swarmed with zombies. So basically, the plan doesn't work. How do you feel, Mike? You think that they'll actually stay true and do that moment? Because it seems like they are setting up that moment.
It definitely seems like they're setting up that moment, and it also seemed like that last episode going into episode 8. But I really feel like this time I can say with confidence that they're going to pull this off in the next episode 9. That
they have to. They have to.
They better, because if not, I'm probably going to jump through the television and start doing some wild things myself. But
you don't got that Lucille. Do you have Lucille with you?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, not. I gotta invest myself in one. But yeah, I really think that is that kid's name Sam, who was saying "mom" at the end. That's his name, right?
I don't know. That little kid, the cookie. I call him Cookie Monster because that's all he wants is fucking cookies.
All right, so the Cookie Monster kid, Ron, and Jesse. I think they're all gonna bite the dust next episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I don't know if you remember in the comics, how Rick uses his axe.
And he just bulldozes his way, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's telling Jesse to let go because Sam.
Oh, yes! I'm glad you pointed that out, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Tell the viewers.
I really wanted this to happen in this episode. I'm so angry that they didn't do it, but it looks like I hope they do it in this next episode when Rick is telling Jesse that she has to let go of her son because there's no hope. He's just getting swarmed and eaten up. And obviously, being a mother and the mother instinct, she doesn't want to let go of her son. So I think Rick is forced to just chop off the hand with his axe.
No. Mike, you're on the right point, but he didn't chop off Jesse's son's hand. He chopped off Jesse's hand.
Yeah, it was Jesse's hand. Yeah,
because she was holding on to Carl, I believe. Carl or somebody.
Yeah, and then he knew that if he didn't do that, then they'd all be dead. And I really, really want to see this happen. I will be so happy if they do this in episode 9. If they don't do that, if they don't do that scene, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I don't know.
Man, Mike, you really do not like Jesse.
Oh, no.
You really want some bad stuff to happen to Jesse.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of her. She's a good actress, but I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, that would be crazy. But it's AMC. It's so far with The Walking Dead. They haven't. They have, the one scene that I thought was super graphic, and I remember talking to my coworker, and she said that her son actually kind of like watched it. He came out of nowhere, like when kids when they're young they want to see what mommy and daddy are watching this rated R movie and stuff. Well, he came in and they watched this particular scene with The Walking Dead, and I guess it gave him some nightmares. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you watching this for?" It was a scene with Noah, and he gets fish hooked. Remember that scene?
I think that was one of the best deaths in The Walking Dead was Noah. I love that.
Yes, I didn't really like Noah, but damn, man, I kind of felt so bad for him. I was like, just that overall. Oh, and then Glenn watching it. That was a graphic death scene, and I'm hopefully, since they're able to do that, they'll do that for Jesse.
Yeah, I would love to see that. And yeah, again, Noah's death was I wasn't really a big fan of him. I felt like they just threw him in there just because. But I think that was one of the best death scenes in The Walking Dead. And we need some more. We need some more of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you know what's funny though, Mike? When we talked about the comic books, you said that the comic books was much more savage in the beginning, and now it's kind of more. I don't want to say tamed, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I'm starting to think that maybe The Walking Dead was a little bit more savage back in the day than what we're getting right now. I don't know if you would agree with me on that. It's just really a thought, honestly.
Yeah, I would say yeah, I would agree with you in certain aspects. That yeah, it definitely was a lot more going on in the first couple seasons. A lot more action, a lot more like death. But now I guess you're right. It has been slowing down. There hasn't been that much action. I mean, I think one of the last crazy episodes was the season opening of season 5, which
Yeah.
was a lot of deaths. A lot of deaths.
Um. Okay, man. Listen, I know we talked about this. I know we both do not know how the hell they're gonna do it. How they're gonna get Ron's eye to do that particular scene. But do you still think Ron is gonna be the person to do it to shoot Carl in the eye? I mean, Carl.
I, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off. I don't know. I'm not sure. He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't. I don't think he has a knife unless he takes a gun from someone else's waist. I can't see how they're gonna do this, and I'm pretty sure it's very key in Carl's character for him to move on in the TV series. They have to injure Carl somehow, and I really can't. I don't. I really don't know. I have no predictions for that. What do you think about this? How do you think they're gonna pull this off?
Well, I thought it was interesting that Diane was, they didn't show her death. Like they just showed her screaming at the walkers. What if she's still alive? What if she still like has, still got some rounds left in that clip and she gets downstairs and she just starts wailing on these walkers from left and right and she accidentally shoots Carl.
I mean, I can't see that happening because I think that was the end of her character because there's only a certain amount of bullets that she has and
Yeah. I mean, it's a low, 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 low chance. I'm just,
yeah,
shooting.
anything could happen. Anything could happen, but there was I
Carl
too many
might
walking to
not
that
even
whole.
lose an eye, dude. Carl might not even lose an eye.
Yeah, and I would be again. That would be another disappointing thing if Carl doesn't lose an eye or get injured major in some way. Something needs to happen to Carl for him to progress in the story.
He needs to lose that damn hat. That hat doesn't fit his head no more.
Yeah, it's pretty big on him. I don't think he's gonna lose
It just looks so weird. Every freaking like Carl, lose the hat. You have your dad right there. You don't need the hat. Oh my god. What I'm interested in how they're gonna do, and I don't think they're gonna execute it great because right now they're showing me they're not giving me too much confidence that they're gonna execute this great. Is when Rick goes on a rampage, and when they actually stand their ground and they stop all these walkers that are surrounding them. I don't think it's going to happen. No, I don't think they're going to be able to showcase Rick and the group's strength to full capacity like in the comics. I don't know, Mike. Do you feel the same way?
I can't see how they're gonna do that either. I mean, unless they make it to the armory and then they start just shooting all these walkers, and because I think they're gonna make it to the armory in the next episode, but it's gonna be difficult if Carl gets shot in his eye, or if something happens to Carl, because Rick is just gonna want to take shelter again, and I don't know where they are in Alexandria, if the armory's close or not, but they're leaving us with a lot of questions. But again, it was a very dry episode, and I don't know. I can't see how they're gonna progress it, especially after what happened. I don't know how Carl's gonna lose his eye. I don't know how they're gonna fight their way out of the herd now that Sam is opening up his mouth. I don't know why they didn't tell him that he's not supposed to be talking in this. I guess I don't know. There's just so much going on.
For real, there is. Is there anything else you would like to say, Mike, about this episode? Because I don't know. Do you have anything else you could think of that maybe could be worth watching this episode at all?
Oh man, I don't know. I also want to know how Abraham, Sasha, Daryl are gonna come into play. And are they gonna come and save the day, or are they gonna come after all this madness is over and done with?
I think they'll come and save the day. I think they will.
I just hope Abraham doesn't use that RPG to destroy all the walkers, because that's just too cliche for me, in my opinion.
He's probably going to use it. Knowing how this is going, he's probably going to use it. There's really, that's it, man. I mean, that's your season finale. It's not with a bang. It's really with a whimper. Honestly, most likely the episode you were looking for tonight will probably happen when we come back, because that's where I think things starts getting interesting and things start getting good. But tonight was just definitely a dissatisfying. Mike, you gave it a 5 out of 1 through 10. You gave it a 5. Out of 1 through 10, I gave it a 4. Just one of the most, just kind of, just really, just overall, just nothing here. There's nothing here, man. It's like you're wandering to the desert and there's no water. You think there's water, but there ain't no damn water.
Very disappointing. Unfortunately. Very disappointing.
So I did see something though, real quick. I did see something that I think they asked Andrew Lincoln, what is this next episode going to be like? Like the mid-season finale. They asked him what's the mid-season finale going to be like? And Andrew Lincoln, I'm getting so sick of this. Every single time, these actors, the producers, every single time they give you a word, they give you a line. I know it's their job to promote it, but this is what I believe Andrew Lincoln said about tonight's episode. It's going to be bananas. That might mean, bananas how? Bananas it's going to be crazy good, it's going to be amazing, it's crazy what all the stuff's happening. Or bananas this damn episode drove me bananas because there's nothing here. There's nothing here, Andrew Lincoln. There's nothing.
Someone tell me the episode was going to be bananas. I would think it's going to be crazy, wild. You're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole time, but I was not like that at all. So I feel like all these interviews with Norman Reedus and Andrew Lincoln, just you can't even believe them anymore. They're just promoting themselves and the series, and can't take anyone serious nowadays.
Hell no. I'm still waiting for that Walking Dead season that's going to bring me back to season 1, because I think season 1 was the best, or just overall the best Walking Dead season. And sadly, I can't say that for this season, because we already had about 4 to 5 weeks of just really lackluster episodes that you can't really say that this is the best season, because it already had episodes that just weren't worth watching at all or repeating. So I want to thank you guys for listening. That's all we got today. That's all until February. Of course, me and Mike are still going to be doing some podcasts. We definitely have a lot more other topics, a lot more things to discuss, especially new issues that are coming out for the Walking Dead comic book series. Mike, do you have anything to add, man?
I'll never drop this series, but a lot of people are going to me saying bye-bye after this. That's really about it. As you know, me and Dan are very disappointed, and hopefully they'll make us change our minds in the next episode.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's definitely a night of. I got work tomorrow too, and I can't talk about anything for work, anything from Walking Dead work to my work coworkers. So yeah, that's basically about it. I want to thank you, Mike. Thank you for joining me as always, man. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody else out there had a great Thanksgiving. Now we're looking forward to Christmas. Like we always say, if you guys like our podcast, if you want to see more of me and Mike, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you like it, and comment below. Love to hear all your guys' thoughts on this mid-season finale. If you were disappointed, or you thought it was good, it's okay if you thought it was good. We just felt very disappointed in this episode. So this is Dead Walking Sunday. Till next time, Walking Dead Mike. Till next time.
Thanks, Dan. See you guys later.
And we will see you guys in our next podcast. And yeah, it's a little disappointing, but hey, till next time, till we talk more, The Walking Dead. I'll see you guys later. We'll both see you guys later. Bye, guys.